You see him on the news.
CNN.com contributor, Dean Obeidallah. So, Dean...
Watch him at comedy clubs.
When I say Mecca, do you think of a holy place or an urban clothing line?
Read his articles. And you hear him on the radio. The Dean Obeidallah Show is on live right here on SiriusXM Progress, Channel 127.
And welcome to the show, brothers and sisters of the Resistance. Thursday, February 21st. I'm Dean Obeidallah. Hope to be your MBFF. Always on Twitter. Waiting to be your buddy. At Dean Obeidallah, Facebook.com/Dean of Radio, where you can watch the monologue or when we have guests in studio. A lot to cover today, a lot of great guests, a lot of topics. Reverend Al Sharpton will join us at the bottom of the hour to chat with him about a bunch of issues. But first, we need a little quick fix of humor. And actually, it's really good advice from Stephen Colbert last night on the idea of getting complacent of the threat of Trump. So I think this is so important. Clip number one.
Most of the stuff in the article wasn't even secret. We knew about his flagrant attempts to stop investigations into what Russia did to our election. But as the Times put it, Americans have lost track of how unusual his behavior is. Please don't do that. Please don't lose track. I just want to remind you that mildly nauseous feeling you have is because for the last 2 years, Donald Trump has been spinning you in a tumble dryer full of turd. It's all lies. All of it. All of it. I mean, just think of what he's done. The president attacking his Justice Department, trusting Putin over his own intelligence community, calling the FBI a bunch of corrupt deep state coup plotters is not normal. It is strange. It's like how Jack in the Box sells tacos for some reason. It may not be illegal, but it certainly violates something sacred.
And great point. Summed it up. We can't ever get complacent. Even that we can't allow the new abnormal to ever become normal. That's how Trump wins. That's why we fight normalizing Trump's lies and his hypocrisy. And sometimes people say, why do you call it out? We do it because if we don't, Trump wins. He wins when lying is normalized, when bigotry and racism and sexism are normal, when they're just part of America and no one calls out anymore. Donald Trump wins. He wins. And so does some of the subset of his base that loves that kind of garbage. So some little breaking news. Roger Stone, we all know him, and I really think he should have been put in jail today by the federal judge. But the judge didn't put him in jail, but put a wider gag order on Roger Stone after posting a picture on Instagram of the judge with a sort of a gun crosshair over her head, not over her face, but above her head. And he apologized, and he really groveled before the court in a way that one pundit said, we've never seen Roger Stone like that, because he was aware he potentially was going to go to jail for contempt of court. He should have gone to jail. She should have held him in contempt, the judge, and put him in jail maybe for a week, because the idea of threatening a federal judge like that and attacking her credibility as a judge as well, there's no place for that. If you're a litigant in a case, there's no place for that. And she didn't. She did a wider gag order. Apparently, he can't even comment on the case in the media at all. So a couple other big stories. Obviously, the Jussie Smollett case. And today what happened, the legal developments are very real. And I have no desire to pile on Jussie Smollett. He has made a horrible, horrible mistake. He is facing criminal charges. And the wrath of various communities, completely understandable. It's horribly wrong. You know, he had been a celebrated activist on issues like HIV/AIDS awareness, civil rights, and the LGBT community overall. But that legacy is now gone, and Jussie Smollett will be remembered, barring him doing something remarkably great in the future, for this. And in a matter of the weeks, we saw a remarkable trajectory of a scandal. It went from all of us, and I can't speak for all of us, but I know I was outraged. I could not believe it. People with MAGA hats yelling racist stuff at him, attacking him, throwing bleach on him, and putting a noose over his neck. That's what we were told by the police. I didn't talk to Jussie Smollett. That's what the police reported. We all relied on it. There's no reason you should doubt that when someone makes a case to the police. The percentage of false reports overall are somewhere between 2 and around 10% overall. That's what statistically, that's the number. So, and then it unraveled, and it turned out this January 29th attack did not happen the way it was said. The rope around his neck and the chilling words of MAGA country captured the attention of all of us. He even went on Good Morning America to defend the story, even invoking that if I said the attacker was of color or a Muslim, everyone would believe it. And he was trying to make that for a good reason. He was making that point, not a demeaning point at the time. It completely unraveled. And then today, Chicago Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson, I'll play just 2 clips from him. First, Eddie Johnson makes a fabulous point about, I wish this much media coverage would come to Chicago and cover gun violence when innocent people are killed in their city, as opposed to a celebrity being involved in a case that involves politics. Here's Eddie Johnson. Here's clip number 2, please.
As I look out into the crowd, I just wish that the families of gun violence in this city got this much attention, because that's who really deserves the amount of attention that we're giving to this particular incident. So this morning, I come to you not only as the superintendent of the Chicago Police Department, but also as a black man who spent his entire life living in the city of Chicago. I know the racial divide that exists here. I know how hard it's been for our city and our nation to come together. And I also know the disparities, and I know the history.
So that was Chicago Police Superintendent, Eddie Johnson, making it very clear his own history, who he was about, and what was going on. And then he really laid into Jussie Smollett here, and I have to play this clip because you can hear the emotion in his voice. As an African-American man, to see this happen on his watch, and how heartbreaking because of the commitment of police resources and outrage in their police when they first heard these charges, that a black man was targeted for being gay and for being black, and what it turned out to be. Here's clip number 3.
This announcement today recognizes that Empire actor Jussie Smollett took advantage of the pain and anger of racism to promote his career. I'm left hanging my head and asking why. Why would anyone, especially an African-American man, use the symbolism of a noose to make false accusations? How could someone look at the hatred and suffering associated with that symbol and see an opportunity to manipulate that symbol to further his own public profile? How can an individual who's been embraced by the city of Chicago turn around and slap everyone in this city in the face by making these false claims? Bogus police reports cause real harm. They do harm to every legitimate victim who's in need of support by police and investigators, as well as the citizens of this city.
And again, that was Chicago Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson. And he went on to say that Smollett had paid the 2 men, the 2 brothers, $3,500 to fake the attack. And his motivation, and it's just horrible, that according to the police, he was, quote, dissatisfied with his salary on Empire, and reportedly he was making $65,000 a week, and he wanted more money. And from what I can sense from the police, he thought by raising his profile and being the subject of a hate crime, it would help him. Also, there's another part of it that he was upset that he did get some hateful letter before, and it was not given the attention it needed, but perhaps now the attention he wanted was not for the right reasons, but to get a salary raise. And the police made a great point, lamenting the many resources used by Chicago. They said that one of the commanders said they interviewed more than 100 individuals, that they had 12 different officers assigned to the case, and that they could have been using this to save lives and help people in Chicago who really needed help. So that's the story there. And there is an outrage, people in the African-American and the gay community and the intersection of like LZ Granderson, who I know LZ, I haven't talked to him in a while, but we used to be at CNN together, was on, and he's African-American and gay and really angry at Jussie. And Van Jones was on, and Keith Boykin and others, and I get it. But then Donald Trump had to enter the fray. Donald Trump never misses an opportunity to divide Americans, tweets today at Jussie Smollett on Twitter. Jussie Smollett, what about MAGA and the tens of millions of people you insulted with your racist and dangerous comments? Hashtag MAGA. Trump never misses a moment to demean African Americans. From attacking Maxine Waters' low IQ to demeaning black NFL players who are just simply trying to raise awareness that their lives matter and about police brutality, to calling people like Don Lemon dumb and other African Americans unintelligent. That's what Trump does. So Trump uses opportunity here. On the same day, he did not talk about the white supremacist terrorists that we talked about at length yesterday at the top of the show. And I'll tie this all in together because he'll never call out white supremacists because that is part and parcel of Donald Trump's base. Not every Trump supporter is a white supremacist. But I can tell you, every white supremacist is a Trump supporter. There's no white supremacists going out there going, I voted for Jill Stein in 2016. I hate blacks and Muslims and everything, but I'm really about renewable energy. I want to leave this planet safer for the next generation. That didn't happen. Trump's your guy. He's your grand wizard. So let's be blunt about that. And what's upsetting to me about what happened with Jussie Smollett, I'm neither in the LGBT or African American community. What I'm concerned about is in 2020, we are going to see more hate crimes by MAGA people. I can guarantee you, sitting here on February 21st, 2019, that we will see hate crimes by MAGA people between now and November 3rd, 2020. How do I say that? Based on the history of the last election. In 2015 and 16, we saw a spike in hate crimes by Trump supporters, defacing mosques in New Jersey with the word Trump, like it's a modern-day swastika, used it on various mosques. They attacking people, invoking Trump either by name and what they were doing specifically, or in their writings. And yesterday, the Southern Poverty Law Center came out with their annual report on hate crimes. It's unbelievable. These same things are lining up. They're overlapping. You have Jussie Smollett and MAGA and the Southern Poverty Law Center warning us yesterday, warning us. Hate crimes in the U.S. reached a record high last year. And they said, and the Southern Poverty Law Center, an organization that since mid-70s, their simple job, not-profit organization, is to track hate crimes, especially against African Americans. Now it's expanded to against all groups. And they say, the Southern Poverty Law Center, SPLC, says the hate crime jump is largely driven by, quote, hysteria over losing a white majority nation to demographic change. As Heidi Berrick of the SPLC stated, quote, the numbers tell a striking story, and this president is not simply a polarizing figure, but a radicalizing one. Rather than trying to tamp down the hate, as presidents of both parties have done, Trump elevates it. Both his rhetoric and his policies. In doing so, he's given people across America the go-ahead to act on their worst instincts. Exactly what we talked about yesterday. Others in the past try to appeal to our better angels. Donald Trump appeals to the worst in people, the base in people, the scary thing, that the brown people are coming, they're going to come rape you. And he's literally said they're going to come rape you and take your job. And he brings with him people he calls angel moms, who my heart breaks them. They lost their children, undocumented immigrants. But the point is, he's saying immigrants are coming here and they're going to rape or kill your child just like this poor mother here or poor father. And Muslims, trying to ban every Muslim. 1.5 billion, 1.2 billion, whatever number we want to use an estimate because of our faith. And the list goes on. And as the SPLC said yesterday, and here's a really stunning part, the number of hate groups in America has now jumped from 2017 to now the new high, 1,020 in 2018. And primarily the jump has been in white supremacist groups, including neo-Nazis and the Klan, racist skinheads, neo-Confederates, and white nationalists. Trump's base, right there. And I'm trying to be responsible. I do not, again, believe all Trump supporters are white nationalists or Klan members. They don't have a problem with it because if you did, you would not support Trump. That's a different discussion. And in 2018, SPLC said 40 people were killed by those motivated or attracted to far-right ideologies. So in the last few weeks, as we went through yesterday, a week ago, we had a BBC reporter attacked at a Trump rally shortly after he demonized the media. And they attacked the reporter. Donald Trump says nothing to his crowd. He sees the attack. He even gives a thumbs up to the reporter to show, are you okay? But doesn't say to his base right there, don't ever do that. Don't attack reporters. No, because Donald Trump wants his base to give at least the threat and specter of violence, hoping it's calls self-censorship. We had the MAGA bomber in October. In August, we had Robert Chain, who I wrote about, a man who threatened to kill reporters of the Boston Globe using terms like, you're the enemy of the people. I'm going to shoot you in your head. And why don't you call your buddy Mueller? Those are exact words, he said. And he's charged with 7 crimes, federal crimes, because he did it by phone interstate. And yesterday, then, we had Christopher Paul Hassan, who called to establish a white homeland, a man obsessed with neo-fascist and neo-Nazi views, who on his hit list had people like Nancy Pelosi and Richard Blumenthal. And his internet searches tell you everything you need to know about this guy's motivation. He searched things like, and this is all in the indictment, what if Trump illegally impeached? Another was civil war if Trump impeached. Authorities found 15 firearms, including long guns and rifles, and more than 1,000 rounds of ammunition in his small apartment. This is where we're going. We're going to this. I'm telling you. I said it yesterday, and I've never been more convinced we're going to see more violence going to 2020. And we're going to see it by MAGA supporters who get desperate. There are a small subset within the Trump base that are clearly unstable or willing to commit acts of violence. Don't forget the Tree of Life terrorist who killed the Jewish Americans in Pittsburgh had been a Trump supporter. The only reason he was disillusioned with Trump, according to the reports, is that Trump started, in his view, getting soft on immigration, and he killed the Jewish people in that temple because he held them responsible for advocating for Muslim immigrants and brown immigrants. So that, to me, was also a MAGA terrorist right there. He was hook, line, and sinker in the MAGA platform. He was upset with Trump at the end, so he didn't like Trump anymore, but he had liked Trump. This is where we're going. So, look, I'd love to take a call or two. If all goes well, we'll have the Reverend Al on the bottom of the hour to talk about a few topics, including Jussie Smollett, but he also had lunch today with Senator Kamala Harris and talk about what that was like. And I've gotten to know the Rev a little bit. I've been on the show more frequently recently, and I'm really happy we're going to get him on. We're going to take some calls. We'll take a lot of calls at different times in the show today on this, on the threat of violence. And again, our media, I understand covering the hoax. You have to. It's a celebrity involved, intersects politics. But they covered this 2 and 3 times as much as they covered the white supremacist terrorist who wanted to kill liberal members of the media, the same ones Trump has railed against, Joe Scarborough, Don Lemon, CNN people, and the same Democrats Trump has attacked. And that's gone from the media. And that's really big. So let's take a break. 866-997-4748. Be right back. You're listening to the Dean Obeidallah Show, where we crush Trump's lies every single day
on Sirius XM Progress 127.